Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Crestwood Board of Education. I call the meeting to order at 7:08 and invite you to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, the eagle flew. Well, it's that time of year, isn't it?
Or migrating.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Senni, would you take roll, please?
Yes, Mrs. Antonin.
Here.
Mrs. Berry.
Here.
Mrs. Fawaz.
Here.
Mr. Garcia.
Here.
Mrs. Kaminsky.
Here.
Mrs. Krasanik.
Here.
And myself, Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Senni. And the consent agenda, please.
Yes. Board of Education approval is recommended for the items listed on the consent agenda, which include the October 28th, 2019 board agenda, the minutes from the study session on Monday, October 14th, 2019, the minutes from the regular meeting on Monday, October 14th, the minutes from the special meeting on Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, and the minutes from the special meeting on Thursday, October 24th, 2019.
Support.
We have a motion from Ms. Senni, supported by Mrs. Berry, that the Board of Education approve the items listed on the agenda, which include the October 28th, 2019 board agenda, the minutes from the study session on Monday, October 14th, 2019, the minutes from the regular meeting on Monday, October 14th, 2019, the minutes from the special meeting on Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, and the minutes from the special meeting on Thursday, October 24th, 2019. Is there any discussion?
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
Were we going to hear the Robson-Raymond report as an informational item?
You know what? That should be amended. You're absolutely right. We're going to amend.
Are we still going to hear the
Well,
report?
we're going to amend it to an informational item, not an action item. All right? Does that work?
Which is item 6.
Is that the way you do it?
I thought we were going to table it, but
Well, I think that they're going to be here, so
I thought we were going to table the action.
we are tabling the action, but we're putting it as informational so they can make their presentation.
Okay.
Okay?
Are they here?
I don't,
Not here.
No, they're at another board meeting. They're coming here about 8 o'clock. So.
all right, well, we'll wait until we'll just move
Okay.
around them. Thank you, Ed, for reminding us of that. Is there anything else? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. At this time, why do we have, oh, not at this time, yeah. Before we have the board brightener, I would like to welcome Dr. Masalam to our first official board meeting. Yes. I would be remiss in saying that, making it sound like this is his first official act, because you've been here. It feels like you've been here forever already in what you've done.
He hit the ground running.
Yes, talk about hitting the ground running. Well put. So welcome. It's
Thank
great
you.
to have you here.
Madam Chair,
I
Yes.
keep forgetting he's only been here 4 days.
I know. We're expecting an awful lot, though,
Yes.
aren't we?
Well,
And he's
he's done an awful
delivering.
lot.
He's
Yes,
delivering.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, I appreciate it, and I already feel part of the family. So
How
thank
nice.
you very much.
Good.
How nice. Good. That's because you were in on our fights and everything.
Felt like at home.
That's great. Okay, so we have a board brightener this evening. Ms. Kayla Kalbus, I can never say her name. Kobush, and the Crestwood Drama Club are going to perform a snippet from Avenue Q. I can't read this.
Avenue Q,
School
School
Education.
Edition.
School Edition, thank you. So we're going to take just a quick break here, and then we'll reconvene if you want to adjust accordingly. We'll be right back.
Are they doing it in here?
Always appreciate you guys making your way down here so we can have our first little mini performance in front of people. It helps a lot because then I get to see what their real energy is going to be like, because I think they're bored doing it in front of me now. My name is Kayla Kolbush. I am a teacher here at Crestwood, and I run the theater program, and it's my favorite thing ever. We have a cast and crew, or a membership in drama, of about 100 students. So in this show, there's 20 students, and I think there's about 50 or 60 crew members that help usher, sell tickets, clean the lobby, do hair, do makeup, and we're very big on teamwork and team building skills, confidence, all of those things that I think help in all of their other classes. So this year for our spring show, we're doing a musical called Avenue Q School Edition, which is very loosely based off of Sesame Street in the idea that it is a mixture of humans and puppets. And it's set on, instead of Sesame Street, Avenue Q, which I want you to imagine Avenue A is like, you know, the Magnificent Mile in Chicago, and Avenue Q is way outside of that nice area, you know. So in the cast, you have a bunch of different humans, puppets, and monsters that are all just trying to figure out who they are in life and what they want to do and what people are important to them, which are all things I'm also trying to teach the kids back there. So it's one thing I love about doing theater and this show as well is it sparks conversation that you can have with the kids that they need to talk about and be able to figure out what they're thinking about doing with their life, what's their purpose, who are the people that help them become the best versions of themselves, who are the people that don't do that, and that's something that theater can help us do. So our show is, so next week, November 8th, 9th, 15th, and 16th at 7 p.m. You can buy your tickets online or you can get them at the door. And we would love to have all of you come see the show and support our amazing students here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the opening number, and then that's about it. And then if you guys have any questions after that, I'd be more than happy to answer them. So thank you very much, and enjoy the opening number of Avenue Q.
What do you do with the BA in English? What is my life going to be? 4 years of college and plenty of knowledge have earned me this useless degree. I can't pay the bills yet, 'cause I have no skills yet. The world is a big scary place, but somehow I can't shake the feeling I might make a difference to the human race.
Oh, morning, Brian.
Hi, Kate Monster.
How's life?
Disappointing.
What's the matter?
Well, the catering company laid me off.
I'm sorry.
Me too. I mean, look at me. I'm 10 years out of college, and I always thought,
What?
oh, it sounds stupid.
Come on.
When I was little, I thought I would be
What?
a big comedian on late night TV. But now I'm 32, and as you can see, I'm not.
No.
Oh well, it sucks to be me.
No.
It sucks to be me. It sucks to be broken, unemployed, and turning 33. It sucks to be me.
Oh, you think your life sucks?
I think so.
Your problems aren't so bad. I'm kind of pretty and smart. Thanks. I like romance and things like music and art. And as you know, I have a gigantic heart. So why don't I have a boyfriend? Crap, it sucks to be me.
Me too.
It sucks to be me.
It sucks to be me. It sucks to be Brian.
And Kate.
To not have a job.
And I have a date.
It sucks to be me.
All you need to tell me what time to come home. You're not my mother.
Is that something for us? Do you have a second?
Sure, whose life sucks more, Ryan's or mine?
Ours! We live together. We're close as people can get. We've been the best of buddies ever since the day we met. So he knows lots of ways to make me really upset. Oh, every day is an aggravation. Come on, that's an exaggeration. You leave your clothes out, put your feet on my chair. Yeah, you do such anal things like ironing your underwear. You make that very small apartment we share. So do you. That's why I'm in hell too. It sucks to be me. It sucks to be me.
It sucks to be me.
It sucks to be me.
Is there anybody here it doesn't suck to be? It sucks to be me.
Da-da-da-da-da.
son.
You're my son? I hear you correctly? Ha! I come into this country for opportunities. Try to work in Korean deli, but I am Japanese. But with hard work, I earned 2 master's degrees in social work. And now I'm a therapist, but I have no clients. And I have an unemployed fiancé, and we have lots of bills to pay. It's up to be me. It's up to be me. I say it's suck, 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 suck. It's up to be me.
Excuse me.
Hey there.
Oh, well, sorry to bother you, but I'm looking for a place to live.
Why are you looking all the way up here?
Well, I started in Avenue A, but so far, everything's been out of my price range. But this neighborhood looks a lot cheaper. Oh, and look, a for rent sign.
You need to talk to the superintendent. I'll get him.
Oh, great, thanks. Yo, Gary!
I'm coming.
Oh my God, it's Gary Coleman.
Yes, I am. I'm Gary Coleman from TV. I made a lot of money that got stolen by the folks. Now I'm broke and I'm the butt of everyone's joke. But I'm here, the superintendent on Avenue Q. It sucks to be you. It sucks to be you.
I feel better now.
Try having people stopping you to ask you, what you talking about, Willis? It gets old.
It sucks to be you on Avenue Q. On Avenue Q. On Avenue Q. But not when we're together. We're together here on Avenue Q. We live on Avenue Q. Our friends do too. Till our dreams come true. We live on Avenue Q.
This is real life.
We live on Avenue Q. You're gonna love it. We live on Avenue Q.
Here's your keys.
Welcome to Avenue Q.
Thank you so much. That's opening number already great. They're so awesome. I would definitely like to thank all of the students. You don't get to see all of the amazing tech students because they're not out here on stage, but our tech crew is 3 times as big as our cast, and they do everything from hanging and designing the lights, or running the lights and doing sound and all of those things. And I have an amazing support group, so our PCDC, which is our booster organization, is incredibly helpful, and all of my department staff that help design and make all of this possible. So, do you guys have any questions about the show or for me before we're done?
You're awesome, too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope I see you guys at the show. Thank you. Enjoy your day and the rest of your meeting. Oh, you have a question? So I will tell you there's 2 things in the show. There's 2 topics. There's no inappropriate, like anything sexual or anything like that. But this show, the whole purpose of it is to bring up kind of topics that are sometimes kind of uncomfortable in a lighter way. So this show brings up the topic of racism because they have humans and they have monsters. And in one of the songs, they talk about, one person asks, how different are these 2 people? And they talk about that situation, if that makes any sense. So it does bring up racism a little bit, and it also brings up homosexuality because there's a character who's afraid to say, who he is as a person. So those are 2 topics that this show has opened up conversations with our students about those topics to be more comfortable, to have conversations about them, which is my reason why I went into this, being able to use theater to do that, to bring up topics that might make people feel uncomfortable, but they need to be talked about, especially with our students, so they know how to talk about them later. So if they're very young kids, it'll probably go right over their head, but then you have that media major who's going to go home and be like, Mom, what's racism? And you'd have to have that conversation with them. So that would be up to the discussion of parents, I think. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Yes, I heard it was very good.
Everyone's waiting for the
They always are, aren't they?
They always are. She's very talented.
Yes, she is.
We're very lucky that she went to Crestwood and decided to come back. to teach.
Are we back on? We're rolling? Thank you, gentlemen and lady.
I remember.
Moving on to our personnel report. Good evening, Dr. Masalm.
Good evening. Board President, trustees, I am proud to say that we are bringing in three action items for new hires. Custodian recommendation, Mark Moline. Interviews for the custodial position were conducted on Monday, October 21st, 2019. The interview committee consisted of Ms. Lisa Abbey, Interim Director of Business and Operations, Mr. Scott Jacobs, Maintenance and Operations Supervisor, and Mr. Tony DeMarco, HR Payroll Specialist. The committee is recommending Mr. Mark Moline for this position. Mark has been a substitute custodian in the district for the last few months. He has proven to be dependable and a hard worker.
Madam President.
Madam Chair.
Mrs. Kaminsky.
I recommend that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the hiring of Mark Moline as a custodian with the Crestwood School District per attachment 5A1.
Support.
We have a motion from Mrs. Kaminsky, supported by Mr. Garcia, that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the hiring of Mark Moline as a custodian with the Crestwood School District per attachment 5A1. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I have known Mr. Moline for 3 years, and he is a hard worker and a very dedicated young man, and I think that the hiring committee made a really good choice, and I'm excited that he'll be part of the Crestwood family.
Great.
Madam President.
Good to hear, yes.
I'm going to trump Ms. Kaminsky.
Well, you can say something.
I've known Mark since he was 10.
Oh, that trumps, yeah, he trumped you. He
Wow, that's
trumped you. 7-year trump.
So, no, but he's also not only very dependable and a good worker, but he's also a graduate from our
Oh,
public school
that's nice
system
to
here.
know, yes.
Annette, I hate to tell you, but I'm going to
I
trump
know,
you. I've
I
known
know.
him since he was 5. No, I don't. I'm kidding.
I know him when he was born.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mark, wherever you are.
He's not here.
Okay.
I'm sure they're all doing something right now.
Oh, yeah.
Madam President and Board Trustees, I'd also would like to put action item for a maintenance worker recommendation, Mr. Stephen Pepas. Interviews for the maintenance position were conducted on Monday, October 21st, 2019. The interview committee consisted of Ms. Lisa Abbey, Interim Director of Business and Operations, Mr. Scott Jacobs, Maintenance and Operations Supervisor, and Mr. Tony DeMarco, HR Payroll Specialist. The committee is recommending Mr. Stephen Pepas for this position. Stephen has over 25 years' experience working in heating and cooling and construction. He is familiar with wiring, sheet metal fabrication, plumbing, pipe fitting, interior and exterior insulation, door frames, snow removal, and power washing.
Madam President.
Okay, Mrs. Krasanik.
I move that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the hiring of Stephen Pappas as a maintenance worker at the Crestwood School District per attachment 5A2, pending acceptable criminal background check and other employment documentation as required by law.
Support.
We have a motion from Mrs. Krasanik, supported by, I'll give this one to Mrs. Berry, I've skipped you the last couple times, that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the hiring of Stephen Pappas as a maintenance worker at the Crestwood School District per attachment 5A2, pending acceptable criminal background check and other employment documentation as required by law. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
All I can say is, wow. Where has he been all our lives?
I know. It looks like
Yes.
we're really starting to
Yes, this is the
get
way
the
we-
So
get the staff
qualified.
we should have.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I think we can thank our new operations.
I haven't known him since he was 5, no.
No. Is there anything further? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Madam President, Board Trustees, I am honored to also, for action item maintenance worker recommendation, Mr. Scott West. Interviews for the maintenance position were conducted on Monday, October 21st, 2019. The interview committee consisted of Ms. Lisa Abbey, Interim Director of Business and Operations, Mr. Scott Jacobs, Maintenance and Operations Supervisor, and Tony DeMarco, HR and Payroll Specialist. The committee is recommending Mr. Scott West for this position. Scott began his maintenance career in 1991 with Ford Motor Company, where he maintained and certified all fire and safety equipment. He has experience with painting, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, flooring, tree cutting, snow removal, and preventative maintenance for HVAC units.
Madam Chair?
That sounded like
Was that Harmony Salwa? Go ahead, Mrs. Fawaz.
I move that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the hiring of Scott West as a maintenance worker at the Crestwood School District per attachment 5A3, pending acceptable criminal background check and other employment documentation as required by law.
We have a motion from Mrs. Fawaz, supported by Ms. Senia, that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the hiring of Scott West as a maintenance worker at the Crestwood School District per attachment 5A3, pending acceptable criminal background check and other employment documentation as required by law. Is there any discussion?
Well, I figured him coming from Ford, he had to be good.
Yes, of course.
Oh, yeah.
They only hire the best,
I have to
Mrs.
agree
Fawaz. Mrs. Krasanik.
I just want to say another wow.
Wow.
Yes.
I have to be honest. I had a chat with the operations manager, Scott, and he told me he had some people that he was going to put the word out to that would be excellent for these positions. This is wonderful. I mean, it's about time we got people that in here that were really great, knowledgeable people in maintenance, knowing what was going on. Yes.
Madam Chair, can I ask, are any of the individuals here? No, we asked. I was wondering who you were.
This is. I'm Scott West.
I just caught us saying nice things about you.
I'm excited to be here and thought it was appropriate that I come and introduce myself.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. It's good that you did that. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Must be that.
So
How did you know?
House.
How did you know?
I just knew he looked like he would fit that.
You look like a Scott
I thought
West.
he was the Raymond Rapson, but now I see.
Excellent, excellent.
Welcome. We're excited to have you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Very excited.
Welcome aboard.
Is there any further discussion then?
Madam President.
Yes.
So I just had a question, and I think that maybe just something for I know we've asked for it in the past. There were no supplemental information in regards to like certificates, especially since this is with HVAC, electrical mechanical. So I'm just wondering if there was any supportive documentation that.
I will follow up.
But
okay.
Yeah.
He would not be aware of it as we
Well,
move
here's the
forward.
thing. We still contract that stuff out. I think he would just be the support. I don't think it would fall on his lap.
Yeah, I think it would.
I believe that some of it would.
Yeah,
Some of it.
As much as he could.
Yeah, as much as he could.
If I may ask the board to allow me to get that information from our interim business director and Mr. Scott Jacobs, and I will forward that information to the board.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you wouldn't have known you wouldn't have known about it unless someone told you.
Yeah.
Well, he has been here 4 days.
He's running behind
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
In our fourth action item, Madam President and Board Trustees, Kinloch Elementary Extracurricular Clubs Organization Schedule B. Ms. Sue Zahal, Kinloch Elementary School Principal, is requesting approval of the robotics club for the fourth grade students. The main focus of the club is integrating STEM processes and higher order thinking. The club will meet once a week after school beginning November 13 and will run through April 1 of 2020.
Madam President.
Mrs. Krasanik.
I move that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the robotics club at Kinloch Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
Support.
We have a motion from Mrs. Krasanik, supported by Mrs. Fawaz, that the Crestwood Board of Education approve the robotics club at Kinloch Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year. Is there any discussion?
Madam President.
Yes.
Who's the coach?
I don't know.
They didn't mention that. I'm sure it's Mr.
I thought Mr. Marabias oversaw
Marabias.
the program, but I don't think he
Kinloch, I think
oversees
it's
it.
Sarah Murray.
Oh, really?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I love this program. I
do
think
too.
it's
My
just.
daughter is so excited to have robotics there, but she's third grade, so I'm wondering if they'll extend it to
They may.
to third
See how it
grade,
works.
maybe?
Right now, it's fourth grade, but these things have a way of growing.
Yes,
Right.
they do.
That would be great. I'd like it extended to the other schools, too.
Right.
Yes.
Madam Chair, just so the audience knows, we've started with robotics not that long ago at the middle school. They've been very, very successful. It's now moved into the high school, and now we're starting younger and getting the elementary kids involved. So if anyone in the audience at home knows of any grants or anything that companies may want to help our robotics team. Robotics is a pretty pricey thing to do, but it is so beneficial for the kids and the community, and what an educational chance this is for our kids. So we're really proud of them, and I'm excited.
I am too. I like watching them.
Yep, it's fun.
It's
Well,
amazing.
the presentation we had last year, was that Highview or Hillcrest?
Highview.
Highview. Yeah, they did.
That was cool. That was cool.
Oh, yeah.
And the
was
kids
good to
were so
watch it.
into it. Usually they're really impressed with being at the board, and they're caught up in all that. They couldn't have cared less. They were interested in their robots doing.
Miss Barry and I think Ed go to a.
Yes.
At Riverside.
This year, if that comes up, call me. I'll go with you. I'd love
Mr.
to see that.
Mirabius, yeah, forgot that, and he said to me, "I need your help." I said, "I was there last year." He goes, "Oh, you were."
He does so much. He does. Is there anything further?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you. Let's see, moving on to the business report. And who is going to give the business report? Would you like to do that? Give the business report
yes,
today? Don't
sure.
forget, we've flipped.
We're just
So-
saying this is an informational item.
Yes, I believe it's an
Yeah,
informational item.
Right, and I could have invited Mr. Balderman up if you'd like me to. Mr. Balderman is here? Yes?
Please.
Mr.
So-
Balderman is from Reben Robinson. Let me ask you to do it, and then I'll just do it. That's why.
We can work off of each other.
All right.
We're already finishing each other's
There we
sentences. so
go.
we're rocking
There
and
we
rolling
go.
with that.
There we go.
Good.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. Tonight, I'm just going to kind of summarize the results of the audit, kind of where we are at. We've actually been issued for quite some time now, which is we were actually out the second week of September, and we issued the next week, which I will say was probably one of our quickest turnarounds on an audit. But due to the circumstances with Brian leaving and uncertain where things were going to be at, we felt it was best to get everything done as quickly as possible so that we could get things turned around, get it issued. We wouldn't have problems with tracking down signatures for representations, all that kind of stuff, and having open items.
Madam Chair, I have a question. You said that you rushed. Does that mean that it's
No,
accurate?
in terms of rushing, it was just a matter of we made it a priority above the other work that we had going on at that time so that we could get it finished, because we knew that there was going to be, there wasn't anybody in place at the time that was going to be able to answer the questions that we had, and so it was going to be more difficult to do that. So we wanted to make sure that we had availability as much as we could as quickly when we were doing the audit at that time. So it was just a matter of gathering the information. And things were well prepared. It was just a matter of, usually the wrap-up is, getting things processed, going through the process, through the review process, all that, and that was all moved up so that we could get it done quicker. So we actually issued on September 19th. Before you have two different documents of the financial statements. If you want to open up that document, I'll kind of walk through it, point out where different information is. The first part of the report that's actually on our letterhead on page 1 is our audit opinion. This audit opinion, the wording in it goes through and kind of explains quite a bit about what an audit is. And whose responsibilities, where the responsibility lies for the information. So as you read through that document, you see a section on management's responsibilities. It's important to highlight that ultimately the responsibility for the financial statements are management. We assist in drafting the report just as a matter of convenience. In terms of, we do these, out of our office, we do 30 school district audits, so we're producing 30 reports for a business manager, business officer to do that. They're doing it once a year. It's just much more efficient for us to do it. So ultimately, the responsibility of the financial statements are management's, as well as having controls in place to make sure the financial information is presented correctly and is free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Our responsibility then is to perform an audit, plan and perform an audit so we can give an opinion on the financial statements. In that, we are looking at controls. We do risk assessment procedures, but we're not actually giving an opinion on internal controls. That's not what an audit is designed to do. An audit is designed to give an opinion on the statements. Now, if things come to our attention during an audit that rise to a certain level, we're required to report those to you, and so that's where you have findings, those types of things that end up getting reported. So the actual opinion is on the second page, the second paragraph on the second page, that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2019. There's a lot of other language in there that's talking about, the important things to highlight there is, it's in all material respects. We're not looking at every item. That's what we're looking for is giving you reasonable assurance that the financial statements are presented correctly, that you can rely on that information. So this is considered to be a clean or an unmodified opinion, which is what you're looking for in an audit.
Go ahead.
Oh. Where would we find the cost for the Divine Child Shared Program and the benefits of that in here?
That specific program isn't going to be in the audit numbers themselves. It would be within, just like any component of the financial statements. It's not buried in the numbers, but it's a part of the underlying numbers that are there. So, like if you go to page 22 and 23, this is your general fund budget to actual statement, and so what you would have in this would be the underlying detail on this is a trial balance that has, hundreds of separate accounts that make up that, and then this brings it up to the level of what would be reported, what is required to be reported by the state of Michigan, and how your budget is actually adopted.
So it's not spelled out anywhere as its own items. Basically, it's kind of buried in with all of the other categories.
Correct.
So we need to see that spelled out.
But that's not what these audits do, correct? You don't. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
No, go ahead.
These audits don't spell it out individually. It's
we're going through a process. Right. Our level of what we're giving an opinion on is looking at the information that's presented, the level that it's presented at. So we design our procedures around that. So we don't design our procedures to say, this general ledger account has, $100,000 in it, and we're going to test that amount specifically. We're rising it to the level of looking at it at this level of detail.
Mm-hmm. It's just very odd that we can't find
How would we find that information?
So I have, Madam Chair, my apologies, Board. I have that in the notes that to speak with Interim Business Director Lisa Abbey to get a line item breakdown of that information to share with the Board.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. Oh, that's right. So then the next section of the report then is management's discussion and analysis. This section of the report is kind of one of the two sections in the report that's more of a narrative, where you can kind of see an explanation of what's happened. That information is a very, very high level, and because of the type of information that's actually there, we don't actually give an opinion on this part of the report. There's a couple different parts where there's not an opinion given, but we do review the information, make sure it's consistent with the rest of the report, and it is consistent. But again, it's a very high level detail. Most of the focus is on the fund, or on the government-wide level. Government-wide financial statements, but there are some sections where it talks about, budgetary highlights, those types of things that are good information in there. The next section of the report, starting on page 15, it's page 15 and 16, is what is considered your government-wide financial statements. These are the financial statements that are at a high level. It's on the full accrual accounting, more like what a business has, where you have capital assets recorded, long-term liabilities.
I'm not sure I understand.
Excuse me. Never had that happen before.
She does it to me all the time.
So on these financial statements, you'll notice the biggest numbers on here are your net pension liability, your net other post-employment benefit liability. Those are your proportionate share of the pension system, MIPSR's unfunded liability. So this is something that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I see where it says here athletics, $753,000.
Where are you, what page?
I'm on page 16. Can you tell me, can you kind of break that down, and is that what we spent?
That
on
is
athletics?
what you spent, and it's going to be pretty close to, just double checking, yeah, there's no government-wide adjustments for it, but yeah, that would be what's out of the athletics, what's considered to be athletics expenditures in the general fund.
So how
And
would we know what the pay-to-play and all that? Is that included in that number, or what would that be?
This is the expenses, the revenue side of it, that has been broken out. There's charges for services specifically that have been identified, but that would be not just pay to play, that would be any admissions, those types of things would be in the charges for services line that's right next to it.
So that, Trustee Barry, Madam President, my apologies. I believe that would be another element that I would have to request a line item from Lisa Abbey and to share with the board.
Because that number looks awfully low.
Okay.
That's very
Thank you.
low.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay. So back on page 15, just to kind of highlight, we've highlighted over the last couple of years, but because it does end up showing a deficit government-wide, that's because you have that proportionate share of your liability for the retiree health care and the pension that's in MIPSR. So it's one of those where the standards say you have to report it a certain way. It's not a liability, like most of your others, where you can actually go and pay it. But it's because you're required to make contributions to the system, but you can only make what they require you to make. So what I like to highlight in that when I'm talking about that is the reason this number, or the reason that there's so much money, and it does have a huge impact on you because this number is a deficit, and those numbers are so big. You're having to put a lot of money towards that pension system. The contribution rates are as high as they are, and there's so much money out of the state aid that's coming to you, even to pay back directly to the state. That's having a huge impact on school districts across the state. And this is something that every school district has, this deficit, because this number is so huge.
Madam President?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there guidelines on that deferred post-employment benefit amounts on the time period that we have to pay into the system?
In terms of, what you're paying into the system and how they're amortizing that and all that kind of stuff, they're targeting, I think it's down to 18 years that they're trying to amortize it to. It started out at 20 and they're trying to reduce it down. Of course, the number, if you look at it from last year, it's grown. So some of that it's a point-in-time type liability where this is the measurement date of it is September 30th is when that liability of last year, it's the state's fiscal year end. So it's a number that goes up and down based on that. But the plan and what the state has put forward and how they're amortizing the unfunded liability, which directly affects how much you're having to pay in, is at 18 years now. So they have charts and graphs that are out there where they show where they're projecting and what their plan is, where it's 18 years and then you have a huge drop off because at that point theoretically it would be the unfunded liability would be paid off and you'd just be paying the ongoing cost for the employees that you have and what it's costing for them, but that's a long ways out there. The next section of the report is the fund financial statement, starts on page 18. If you look at 18, you'll have the balance sheet for the general fund, the capital projects fund, and then all your other funds. Governmental funds are in a single column and their schedules in the back. for those. Those are considered to be non-major, and that's just a calculation. It's not a reflection on how important or not important the funds are. It's just a calculation. So for the general fund at the end of the year, your total fund balance was $7,056,000. Of that, there's an amount that's considered to be non-spendable because you have money that's already been paid out, so the financial resources aren't available. So that's prepaids basically, and the unassigned fund balance then is $6.5 million. So that equates to approximately right around 14% of general fund expenditures. So. And then you can see the capital projects fund. The fund balance there is $12,868,000. That's the remaining balance as of June 30th. When we're in these projects, I always like to point out the fact that that was back in June, before the rest of the summer and all the construction happened in the summer. So I'm sure that balance is much less at this point in time. So page 20 is the income statement for those governmental funds. And you can see there, like for the capital projects fund, where during the last fiscal year you spent about $13.4 million. That brought the fund balance down from $25.8 million to $12.8 million that was left at the end of the year. The general fund is the other column there, but there's the more detailed information is where I took you to before, page 22 and 23. This is the budget to actual statement for the general fund. This has separate columns then. The original budget is the budget that was adopted prior to the beginning of the fiscal year, where it showed an increase of fund balance as originally budgeted of $435,000. And then your final budget, what you would have amended with all the amendments through June 30th of 2019 was $202,000. So that was the expected fund balance based on that budget. And then the actual results were a decrease of $191,000 in fund balance.
I'm sorry. With the election coming up November 5th and the non-homestead renewal that is on the ballot, which is about $40,000, is that listed in here so we can show the general public how important it is that needs to get passed to help with our fund balance?
In terms of the actual that's not specifically stated in the report anywhere where there is a footnote that talks about the property taxes, but it's very general. It doesn't get into that level of detail of where that number is or how that it's specifically calculated. But
Madam President and Trustee Kaminsky, I will ask Lisa Abbey to identify where that money that we currently have that we're asking for a renewal on, where it's being, but I do know that it is in the general fund operating.
The property taxes, and I guess framing that, the property tax revenue is the $3,481,000. The property tax line, the very top line on page 22, is that actual revenue that you get from the from that. So
Is what now? Which one?
it's the very top line, $3,481,000.
436?
436.
And I do.
Well, the actual amount was the
Look for the actual.
third column.
Oh, I see. 3481, got it.
But I do know the money we currently receive from the non-homestead millage we are using in our operating budget.
Yes.
And it goes to different things such as maintenance, infrastructure, and support.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. The next few pages, page 24 through 26, are the statements for your employee benefits fund. And then your page 27 is the next statement. This is your agency fund, your student activities fund, where you show you have about $381,000 that's out there that you have for student groups. This is where the change is going to be coming for next year. No big changes this year in the standards that affect the financial statements. But this one actually will change next year. They changed the definitions. I think we talked about it last year at the meeting, but they changed the definition of what a fiduciary fund is and what qualifies as that. And when those definitions came out, There was a lot of information in there, but it basically comes down at school districts to administrative control or administrative involvement. And so if there's any administrative involvement whatsoever by the school district in those funds, it's not considered to be, they're actually changing it from an agency fund to a custodial fund. They're saying that there's no fiduciary, it shouldn't be in the fiduciary funds anymore, so most of those are now being moved over and will be reported as a special revenue fund in the financial statement starting next with the fiscal year 20. So at the end of this fiscal year, you should, that's where those will be reported.
Is it anticipated to be a wash in the amounts of money, or is there going to be a change in the actual revenue?
Well, so what this is shows balances. Under the new standards, you'll actually be reporting revenue and expenditures. Because it's in a special revenue fund, you have to have budgets for that. The accounting for it, a lot of places have been accounting for it, continue to account for it the same way throughout the year because there's issues with accounting systems and how well they're able to track how much what the balance is that's owed for the class of 2018, how much, or 2022, that kind of stuff, having those things tracked. So a lot of places are having that accounted for the same way and then doing journal entries at the end of the year for financial reporting so that they can present it properly. So there are some things that have come out of that have been a little, you think this is an accounting standard, it's just how it's going to be reported. There have been some legal issues that have come up some questions in terms of, because now when it was in an agency fund, when it was just flowing through, there's certain things that you could do just because it was just flowing through. But there's things like, for instance, if somebody's collecting money and they're going to donate it, they wanted to donate the money to a certain cause, well, governments in general and school districts can't make donations to nonprofit organizations. You just can't make a donation. And so because of that, there's some legal issues that are potentially out there and how those can be tracked in different ways, different workarounds that have to go through that. A lot of the major law firms have put out some guidance on that, and we're ending up referring, a lot of our clients are coming to us with legal questions that we're ultimately having to refer to legal counsel in a lot of cases.
Have you seen any potential legal issues here?
There's nothing specifically that I've identified in the funds that you have, but it's really gets down into, it really didn't take effect until this year. It's really something more that's coming up as people are getting into them and start making those expenditures that they're starting to question some of those things. So,
thank you.
The next section of the report is the footnotes. Gives a lot more detailed information on the rest of on the information that's in the rest of the report. Nothing really new this year that comes to mind. There's a little bit of the smallest thing was, if you go to page 40, there's some change in terminology. You'll see for the first time this notes for direct borrowings and direct placement. They changed the standard and said we had to call certain things that and separately report some of that. It's just to distinguish, what you do with usually bonds that goes out for sale, those kinds of things where you take bids, as opposed to notes, those types of things where you're going directly to a bank and trying to get those loans and those types of things. So that's why those are separately reported. But again, it's not a huge change. The information is all the same that you've had there in the past. And then the biggest footnote, as in the past, continues to be start on page 42, the pension other post-employment benefit plans. This is the footnote for MIPSers. So this is even a summarized version when you get into the MIPSers plan of an explanation of what's in the plan, those types of things. But it's much more detailed information. Some of it is because it is the whole basis of these plans is it's a huge estimate when you're talking about projecting benefits out, for decades. Coming up with those numbers, there's a lot of estimations, so there's a lot of disclosures that have to come with that. Page 51 shows a sensitivity analysis that just kind of tells you how much estimation goes into that number. So the standards require the disclosure be made of of what the liability is, and then what it would be if you changed a couple of the assumptions that are in the reports just by 1%. What would that do to the liability? So, for instance, on that top line, the big number, the net pension liability, you can see the discount rates there, and they have different discount rates based on different plans, but basically 7%, you have a $76.6 million liability. If things don't come out quite as well in the market by 1%, they go down 1%, you're talking $100 million liability. So the numbers are huge, and that's really what this footnote is telling you is it's a huge number, and it's a guess. So
really, really big.
Yes. So that was all I had for the footnotes. If you want to kind of see a history on where those liabilities have gone with the pension and the retiree health care, that's on page 56 and 57. The top schedule on each of those pages is where the liability has been, where it's gone. And then the bottom schedule is how much money you've contributed to those plans. So,
Huge.
Yeah, huge dollar amounts.
Is this percentage in accordance with some of the other schools that you do?
The proportionate share?
Yes.
I mean, that number, yes. I mean, it's one of those, that number, which is a very, very small number, percentage-wise, is based on payroll. I mean, they basically take your payroll information that you submit, that gets submitted to MIPSers, takes it as a percentage of the whole, and then that's where those percentages come up with. So it's just your proportionate share of what's getting put into the system compared to the system as a whole. Page 60 and 61 are your statements for those, not what I referred to as the non-major funds before. So you have the food service, the child care fund, and the debt service fund.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's all of the financial statements. So then the back part of the report is what's considered the Single Audit Act compliance section. So the other part of our audit, we do the financial audit, then we do the single audit. And the single audit is required because you expend more than $750,000 of federal dollars. The schedule for that starts on page 68. This lists out all the different grants that you get. Most of them are passed through either MDE or Wayne Risa. So we go through a process, first of all, tying out all this information, making sure that this statement is reasonably correct, that everything is included, tie it back out to the grant auditor's report, that the state reports how much money you're getting, those types of things. And then we go through a risk assessment process of which programs are we going to test. So this year, and then the results of that, go to page 79. So then, as a part of that, what we ended up picking this year for our major program was the Title I program. So that was the program that we actually tested. We didn't test every program that was listed on there, but we tested Title I. And so as a part of that, the results of that is in this report. So 79 is kind of a good summary of what the results are for the year. On the financial statement side, there is a significant deficiency that's reported, and the same thing on the federal award side is there's a significant deficiency reported in internal controls.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mrs.
Can you tell
Berry.
us what you found as that word deficient?
So the findings are on page 80 and 81. So page 80 is a comment that we've had for a number of years here in terms of manual journal entry process.
Yes, you're right.
That this has historically been something where there wasn't a process in place for somebody to review Brian's journal entries when he was in there, where there was somebody else looking at it.
Glad we jumped on that.
So
yes, that's
a matter of so that's a repeat comment that's there. The other was related to payroll documentation. The federal requirements, while they've changed over the last several years, it used to be you had two options. You could either do a a certification if somebody was 100% charged to a grant or were performing 100% one function that was eligible, whether it's being paid for by the grant or something else, is if it was an eligible cost, you could have a certification, or the other was you could do what are called PARs, personnel activity reports. So the standards technically changed, or the uniform with the issuance of the uniform guidance, where the feds changed that a little bit. But it basically came down to, what does your policy say? So then, and is it still a reasonable after the fact determination of what's actually happening? So because your policy says that the PARs and the certs are the acceptable ways to document payroll, that's what we have to go on. So the regulation now is you follow your policy. There's certain guidelines that you have to go by, but those are the only two things that can be done, that can be used to document payroll. So during our testing, there were certain charges that were made to the federal programs that weren't documented in accordance with that standard. So there were 4 items, if you look at the condition, that lacked the documentation that complied with the policy, and so that's where the question cost was $8,600 of just the items that we selected. So we're not required to extrapolate that out and put that number in. So the amounts are more than that didn't do it, because it was probably the same people that were getting charged. But
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so on page 81, just in reading all of these, from the condition to the cause to the questioned cost, do you have the further breakdown with detail for
we have that and can
this?
provide it to management in terms of what it was there. I mean, I think we provided it initially to Brian, but it's broken down. It was, I mean, even in the view of responsible official, I believe it was related to director of curriculum and how that was being documented.
So where it says view of responsible officials effective immediately. So are you saying effective in June, the district's director of curriculum, which would be CLE, will maintain personnel activity reports to support payroll charges to federal cost objectives?
That was what we were given to put into the report as a
that's
response.
what I've been doing. In the past, I've done the semi-annual certification, so this finding was to do it by months. So that's being done.
Okay, so you'll provide the breakdown to Dr. Masala?
Yeah, you had mentioned that you shared that information with Brian previously, correct?
Correct.
So I would...
I can get it to you.
Yes, please, if you can get it to me, and I know, you know Lisa Abbey, correct? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
If you can get it to Lisa and myself, please.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'll do that.
And then I will share the information with the board.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Does this, anywhere in there, does that include like the sub costs? Does that have anything to do with any of this?
No. I mean, the specific ones that we were looking at was related to his costs. Because he was, again, it's going back to the way the policy is set and the way the policy is written currently. Those are the effective methods. There could be other methods of doing it, I'll be honest, but you would have to change the policy to use those other methods.
Or you could make a list of things that are line item issues that you would like to have more clarification
Yeah, I
on.
said that.
And
Subs.
bring it forward, yeah.
And you said these are...
But in terms of what's included in the finding, I don't believe the subs were in it. I think it was just, because of the sample, we had 40, and the 4 that were issues were all
You said
related.
these are repeat deficiencies, right?
The first one was. This one wasn't a
It's a brand new
deficiency.
one.
though.
Second one's brand new.
Was this one you've checked before, or this is the first time you've checked it with payroll?
This has been...
I don't, I mean, it wouldn't be, we'd have to be looking at payroll. We might have looked at a different program. I'd have to look back at my records to see what programs we've tested in each of the previous years. But we end up having to look at payroll just because of the...
I mean, a lot of these violations are for the same person,
For the same...
employee.
So once we get the breakdown information, we'll break that down, and then we'll share that information, and the team and I will discuss as well.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I guess my concern on this, well, a few things. A, we just got this report today, and so we haven't had time to properly really go through this and look at it. And I'm concerned that there's so many repeat comments in here that have not been rectified or looked at or adjusted in past years. It kind of seems like, and I hate this word, but I'm going to say it, well, that's the way we always do it. And I have real concerns.
Well, Madam Chair, like Selwa said, it clearly states in here, condition of the 40 payroll transactions selected for testing for all related to the same employee lacked documentation that complied with the district's policies. The policies were in place, they weren't followed.
Well, we're going to turn all of that over to the superintendent.
Yes, ma'am.
He's more qualified, I think, than any of us to take a look at this and get the information you need and then report back. I could look at this and not glean what you can glean, so in the interest of it.
As stated, when I sit with interim director of business, Lisa Abbey, she'll break it down even further.
Okay.
And then we will have an additional presentation later at some point to
Okay.
discuss our next steps and how we're going to move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Chair, in light of the questions and the time frame where we just got everything, I, for one, can't vote on anything
We're
on
not
this.
voting. It's informational.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We're not going to vote on this until, actually, Dr. Masalam, until you get us the information, we're able to discuss it, whether that's in a couple weeks or however long it takes you to assimilate the information.
Yes, I will get with interim director Lisa Abbey tomorrow,
Good.
schedule some time, and then I will get to you a
How many hours do you have in your day?
25.
I think you'd have to. Thank you so much for your presentation. You made things a little clearer for me. I'm not a
One more
numbers
thing,
person.
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
go ahead.
Since you are here, just so we don't get the questions after he walks away, can we open it to the audience if they have any questions where he can respond right now?
That's not typical, but if there, I suppose we could, because
Just because
he'll
if
be
he leaves and
leaving.
then they're going to ask us.
We can do that.
And we're gonna say,
oh, no.
When you
Right.
bring that up, you could have a meeting where it's a open meeting.
Public hearing.
Well, they are, yeah, that's a better idea. Thank you, Ray, that's a better idea. When we do discuss it and the information's given to us, we'll let the public know that we're going to be discussing it, and then they can come forward with any questions, too.
We could actually, if Madam President, if you would like to discuss with the board, have a study session designated solely for that prior to
that's
a
a
board
good idea.
meeting,
That's
a good idea.
which will give us enough time to field questions and
Right.
take suggestions, so on and so forth.
And it doesn't have to be the day of a regular board meeting.
No.
We can have it any day.
Because I think this will
I think
take
this
This
Yeah.
is important, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do that, when you're ready.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, sir.
right,
Thank you
thank
for your
you.
services.
Thank you.
Nothing in the curriculum report this evening. Moving on to special ed, nothing there. Nice to see you, Mr. White.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Mr. Klee. Moving on then to the superintendent's report. Back to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Madam President. And to the sorry, trying to adjust myself here so the microphone.
I know.
And to the Crestwood community. So I don't have anything specific to announce. I do want to announce that enrollment continues. Our doors are always open for any new students at any time. So please share with your neighbors, anyone that is living in the Crestwood School District who is looking to come back to the Crestwood Public Schools and or are moving into the neighborhood. Our doors are open with wide arms, and we're here to support every member, every child, every adult in the Crestwood School. So please know, enrollment is always open. Our doors never close.
Thank you.
Except when we have to go to bed. I do want to just give a quick welcoming message. I want to thank the community and the board for your due diligence in the superintendent search, and I want to thank you for putting your trust in myself to work and develop a team here at the Crestwood Public Schools to take our district to the highest level possible. I have been on the job for counting the week, well, we won't count the weekend, that doesn't count, but for 5 full days, and I honestly feel, in a good way, please don't take this the wrong way, in a good way, that I've been here for years. I am loving it. I get up in the morning and I have a purpose, and I always say, when you get up in the morning and you have a purpose, you're not going to work. It's a livelihood, and that's how I feel.
Excellent.
I have been accepted by all of the board members and the team, and you have all treated me like family, and I appreciate it. And I am looking forward to many, many more years of success with the Crestwood Public Schools, because our future is bright, and we will be a lighthouse district. So thank you very much for that.
And to respond just briefly to that, I cannot tell you the comfort it gives all of us to be able to look over there and say, Dr. Musalam, will you handle this? And you say, yes, I will, as you type it in. It's nice not to handle it, because we're not equipped for that, and you definitely are. So I'd like to also acknowledge the wisdom of this board in making the right decision.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay, team!
Okay, at this time,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Dr. Musalam, if you can bring a couple other things up. Reminder for the bond on November 5th.
Yeah.
And a reminder for everyone for donating for the tin can raffle for baskets that Nisha has the chair of. We want to... Oh, and tomorrow, right?
Yes. I am remiss, Trustee Fawaz, my apologies. Yes, on the Crestwood school page, there's a short video of myself. The tech crew and I, the technology team here, I've already said, okay, you got to make me look better than I looked in that. I need as many positive angles as possible. But I want the community to know that those messages are going to be a regular occurrence. There's not going to be like every Monday something's going to come out. But as important things or things that need to go out, we'd like to put it online and a short video, 1 to 2 minutes of, real quick, to the point. These are some bullet points. And, it's you pull it up on your phone and so on and so forth. We do have the millage on November 5th. It's the renewal of the non-homestead millage, which is on non-homestead properties. And non-homestead properties, again, are businesses, rental properties. It's just so you know, it's not your personal home. It's not your first home. And it does bring in approximately $40,000 a year that goes to our operating budget. And every dollar counts. Every dollar counts, and as you saw today with the audit discussion and the questions by the board, we will be in the process of posting a job description very soon for the Director of Business Services. Lisa Abbey is our interim director. She's retired. I've tried to convince her to come out of retirement, but she keeps looking at me and laughing. But she's been doing a wonderful job, and she's been very helpful. She's been my tutor. So November 5th, please, when you go to the polls, look for the renewal of the non-homestead millage. Also, continue to check the Crestwood website. We are constantly trying to make updates. We've got a great team that's working on that. And yes, the tin can raffle. These are things that I'm going to get better at as I start identifying
what they are
in Crestwood. Yes. So please show your support. And we watched the opening act, and of Avenue Q,
Yes.
which our Crestwood Theater Department, November 8, 9, 15, 16. Again, November 8, 9, 15, 16 at 7 p.m. here at Crestwood High School. Just the opening act was phenomenal, so hopefully we'll see a lot of the community here, and I definitely will be there myself.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, at this time, can we take comments from board members? Are you good with that? Oh, we did not do that. I'm sorry. Do you want to speak now?
No, I'll wait till the public speaks.
We'll have any public comments if there's anyone that would like to address the board. Good evening.
I just have an issue with the Riverside, not with me.
Put your yeah, there you go. I can't hear.
It's for me, it's a big problem, It's about some subs. They give homeworks for the kids, and when they do, she doesn't give them the right answers. I have this one here. I want to show Dr. Musalim if he can go through it. I don't go to school here. I go, over my country. But even that, this is not the right question. I don't know how. She doesn't know how. The teacher, I know the name if you want, but I can tell. Yeah, but she doesn't know how to simplify that question. This is the homework I have, and they have a teacher before, and she get I don't know. Some student, they told me she's not in school no more. They have subs. They doesn't send us no letters, no emails, nothing about that. This is first of all, and they have subs. It's not supposed to teach. She doesn't know math. I don't know why they put them in that class. This is first of all. Okay. We need our kids to learn, to succeed, not like that.
Okay.
This is the homework. I get a copy of it.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
Did you speak to to Mr. Folletti about this?
I called and I asked about the teacher, why the teacher left. They said that's not our business. And he doesn't tell me that's not our business, but he said, something that's private. But okay, if you want to hire someone, at least you have, experience of that, or what I mean?
They should be. They should have experience in whatever they're
believe
subbing.
me.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I thought we just hired a math teacher.
So, Madam Chair, mine said yes, a math teacher was hired. I actually was one of my briefings today, and they're in the process of coming over. They're leaving one district and coming to us, I believe.
So
Dr. Klee, are you where?
Yeah, but this is not the first one. This is not why I came here today. This is not the first mistakes. Every time, and when we consult, when we have complaint, she said, this is how I do it. That's not right.
Madam Chair, if I may, you had mentioned you spoke to Mr. Folletti in reference to the teacher. If possible, I would recommend, and I will look at that too, and I will follow up with Mr. Folletti.
Okay.
If you can also, schedule some time to meet with Mr. Folletti and let him know your concerns.
Okay.
So that he can understand and see where the concerns are, and then I will also, and the team and I will follow up with Mr. Folletti as well.
Okay.
And then we'll look into, and Dr. Klee had mentioned that the teacher that was hired is on the 2-week notice to come over to our district.
Okay.
But, yes, please, and then I will follow up with Mr. Folletti as well.
You're going to be very happy with that new teacher.
Okay.
Because, she came with rave reviews.
Good. Thank you.
But thank you for bringing this to our attention,
As
and I will
always.
take that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the blue pen, that's my
You did.
answer.
That's your homework, right?
Excellent. I'll give it to my wife to review. She's the math major.
Okay, there you go. Okay, thank you.
I think that's cheating, but that's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Hello, Najah, Janoon. Welcome.
Thank you.
I really wanted the meeting to be posted, like I was telling Dr. Mossam, because he did call me about my email that I sent, because it was his first meeting and I wanted to share it with everybody. So that's why I was hoping to find the posting on the website, but it was all taken care of. So
We're here.
we're here.
Yeah.
I was hoping.
It's okay.
We're here. So to follow up with Salwa's about the Tit Can raffle. So we are accepting donations. If anybody, Dr. Massam's wife has already reached out to me. She will be making a donation. So
How nice.
if anybody else is interested,
Better 75%.
So we will take anything, a basket, gift cards, cash, anything will work. And then tomorrow the PTAs are getting together. I've contacted all the PTAs in the district to do a short little welcome gathering for Dr. Mosallam, 5:30 here at Crestwood. So we won't keep him too long because we know he's got many
Yes, just from this evening.
many things that, he needs to be at. But anyways, so we look forward to seeing you guys. Whoever can make it, we'll be here 5:30.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Daughter's tomorrow for 2 days.
Oh, wow. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to say something about this because as I was listening to him talk, everything I was trying to pay attention to was what he was not saying. Again, he didn't say, and there was a lot that he wasn't saying. You guys asked the question of, hey, where's the $2 million that's coming in on the revenue side for this particular, project? And he says it's all included. That's on a $2 million, that's $2 million you're talking about. But when you look at other breakdowns in here, he's breaking it down to the $300, $290, $400. He seems to be able to break down, well, they seem to be able to break down everything that doesn't matter, and the things that do matter, the things that we have questions about, the things that we've been asking about, we just keep getting told the same thing. It's all bunched in there. We'll get it to you. And everybody here knows I've been asking for this for a while. They're not showing it. I can almost guarantee you they're not showing it because it's not in there. Somebody needs to, at this point, I would probably request a forensic audit with these people because...
Before we jump to that, Mr. Fawaz, we're going to give
right, I
the
understand that.
superintendent a chance to check this out.
I understand
for
that,
us.
so I'll tell the superintendent, I've been asking for this for months, and I just keep hearing, either it's bunched in or we'll get it for you. There, at one point, Brian presented a sheet of paper that had the breakdown, which means he knew where the money was.
That's not yours, that was Naja's.
Okay.
I never reset it.
Good. Which means he knew where it was. It was budgeted. When we asked for it, still didn't get an answer. So, that's just one thing that you guys have to look at, but everything else in here.
Right.
That's why we're going to do
Right,
several meetings.
and there are line-by-line items that we need that we're asking for, that we're being told, that it's kind of absorbed by everything, and that is a question that we have.
I'm sure you guys are aware. Just pay
Madam
attention to
Chair?
everything he didn't say that you guys wanted him to say, and he didn't say it.
Right, yes.
I do have a lot of trust that Dr. Masalam will answer those questions. If we just give him the amount of time that he needs to do it, I don't think he's going to beat around the bush with us.
No, I understand
We're
that.
too savvy for that. We're going to keep him on his toes.
We want to put it out there just to make sure that he doesn't forget.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And I appreciate it, Madam Chair, if I may.
Sure.
I appreciate that. My budgeting style, when I work with the budgeting teams, I need a line item breakdown. Okay, I don't like to know this is a lump sum of money we have.
Yeah.
I need a line item breakdown so
We don't
I can
want a high level.
understand.
We want it
Exactly.
broken down.
I want it broken down. I want to know where we can make adjustments so we can get as much out of every penny we have. And we can't do that with a lump sum. So as your superintendent, if I walked away right now and sat over there, I would tell you I would be requesting the same thing. So you're not asking me something that I don't agree with. I agree with you 100%. But as stated, I just need some time to work on that with our interim director. And I keep repeating interim director because she's only here a few days a week.
Right.
So it's, her and I, we've already started our conversations. We already had some good conversations, but we're taking it to the next level now.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes, Mr. Muscat.
Oh, here.
That's all right. I was about to thank you for being here. Now, I guess I can thank you for being here right now.
Yes.
Glad to be
Our
here.
city councilman, thank you.
It's also my school district, so
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
I love Crestwood Chargers. Go blue, blue, gold, and white. I just want to thank all of you. You guys had a hard chore to do when you voted for a superintendent. I know what that's like, and you can't please everyone all the time. But I want to congratulate you. Welcome aboard, and let me just say that being in a position I'm in, I go through this budget stuff all the time, and I like line item stuff, and I like to see what goes in and what comes out on everything.
What the balance
Got to give him a chance to get his feet wet and look over the budget himself. So I want to be patient, and I'm asking everybody to be patient and give you some time because, again, 5 days, folks. So let's.
He's got to step it up.
So I'm sure we can wait 3 more days or something like that.
I was going to milk it for another 14 at least.
Okay.
You would be shocked at what he's done in 4
Well, you know what? Just by listening to him and knowing what's going on, knowing teachers have been hired, knowing this or that, I'm very, and you send shivers down my spine when I listen to you talk back here when you were interviewing. So it doesn't surprise me that you're already on board. But I just wanted to tell you all, thank you for doing what you've done for our school district, because without you guys up there, school district's not going to work either. So
That's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
Then we'll clap for that, right?
Clap for that. I want to clap.
He's a wise man, isn't he?
Don't ask my wife that.
No, I wouldn't do that.
She's so sweet.
Okay.
I agree.
If there's no one else, we'll take board comments or questions. Mrs. Krasanik?
I would just like to say that at the meeting last week, was it Thursday? Lynn brought up the little snippet that Dr. Musalam had said on our page, and I was so impressed because you had just started, and we had been saying, didn't anybody do anything about the non-homestead renewal? Ding, Lynn goes, well, here, and there you are, and it was just so heartwarming because I just don't feel like enough is being done about that, and the vote's here, so seeing Dr. Musalam pushing for that, and it was very reassuring. And I also would like to say, I watch people. I'm a people watcher. And like Saul was more of a, she writes down what she hears, but I'm a people watcher. And he was so excited when he gave his interview. I had an open mind about this whole thing. Trust me, open mind. I watched you in the interview, and you did say, I feel like a kid waiting to run downstairs and to go underneath the Christmas tree. And that's what I saw. You were so excited. You didn't sit in your seat. And it just blew me away. And you won me that night. And I just want to welcome you and say we are so happy to have you.
I'm happy
That's
to be here.
real,
Thank
that's
you so
real
much.
enthusiasm, because we have occasion where we'll text each other about something, a quick comment or a quick question, and, hi, good morning, how's your day? Every time, he's like the happiest man in America. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy's at work loving it, love my job, love everything, everything's great. I'm drinking my first cup of coffee, and he's already done.
And I also like that he starts his day at the schools.
Yeah.
Nothing impressed me more than when he said that.
We were so wise. Let's
There
talk
was one
about
day
how wise
this week
we
I
were.
didn't, I have to be honest, but.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah, well, you're slipping. Yes.
If I could, I have a few things. Condolences to Dr. Awad for the loss of your father-in-law, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. To Mr. Muscat, who was in the hospital and sick and
Look at him. He
missed the
was
big
fabulous.
one, and we're very grateful that he is so diligent in getting things done, be it for his own health or for the city, and we're very
Don't blush.
grateful that he is now healthy and could have been a different outcome. And on a personal note, I lost my mom last week, and this board and this community, we don't always agree, but I found out through all of this that everyone here that I work with and the community are truly my family, and so I want to thank everybody.
Madam Chair, one more thing. Thank you, Sue, for that. Thank you. That was very nice.
Thank you.
Let's not forget our condolences to Ms. DeSantis at
Oh,
Riverside.
thank you.
So just want to,
Both my
send out-
kids had Miss
Yes.
Tanisoff, well, she was Miss Tanisoff.
Tanisoff,
and
yeah.
I love
So
her.
we just want to send our condolences to
So
her.
Absolutely.
sad for her, too.
Absolutely, yes. Ma'am.
Back to the election on November 5th. If you're not able to go to the election, or to your polling place on November 5th, you can call the city clerk's office and get an absentee ballot and vote.
Don't forget the Saturday before you can go to City Hall and vote.
I was going to say call because I'm not quite sure of the time, but the Saturday
That'll be this
what's that?
Saturday, right?
November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, November 2nd.
You can also register and vote the day of the election.
Yes, but you call the, if you're uncertain, you can always call the clerk's office 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday, at least this week, and Saturday, to get further details, just to make sure.
I think you need to be here every time we have a
I didn't
meeting,
get my
Ray.
absentee ballot application, so I'm going to have to go and vote. I was very disappointed, though.
Well, that should go for anybody that didn't get their
Lynn,
ballot.
I
There may
know.
be more.
I'm sorry,
Just-
did you say that they can register on the same day?
Yes.
Yes. That was that law that was
So
passed
my
last November.
son is going to make it,
Yay.
his first official election.
How cool.
I'm so excited.
Did he register yet?
He better vote
Not
yes.
yet? He's going to come, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
anything
yelled at him
else?
yesterday.
Okay.
No, I'm glad
Madam
not.
President,
Mr. Garcia,
so I do apologize. Last week I was out on travel, so I was not able to attend your.
but you tried
Most-
desperately.
I did. I was caught up in meetings for 3 days while I was gone.
But we kept
So
you
officially, I'd like to welcome Dr. Musala to the district. I know the board did last week, and the community has, and then there'll be another groundbreaking event tomorrow. But one thing that I would like to say thank you for, and I did see the social media presentation, I have spoken highly about how important it is to showcase and highlight the district using all forms of media to reach many different people and different avenues. So I truly appreciate the fact that you've taken that initiative to work with our gurus in the technology department, for lack of better words, to see that it's not just a TV like we're doing here, but I mean all different types of social media to reach our
Ed
community.
has pushed that for years and years, and nothing has been done, so it was so nice to see you there.
Push it a little further, and you're going to be right up there with Mrs. Krasanik.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna be best buddies when it comes to technology.
Oh, stop it.
You're going to fight like chickens.
Emails and everything, yeah.
I'm going to fight all the way.
Social media.
Yes. Okay.
And I shared it.
Is there anything?
I believe so. Is it on
Is
the
it on the
not
cable
yet?
channel?
No? Well, we'll work on that.
All right, anything further from the board?
Just going to say, too, it is very refreshing to have you on board. Nice that we'll be, making the changes we need, and glad to have you.
Thank you. And again, pleasure is all mine.
Thank you.
Thank
And we
you.
knew all along.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion
Support.
from Mr. Garcia, supported by Ms. Sinia.
8:43.
All in favor?
Aye.
At 8:43, we are adjourned. Good evening. Thank you.